Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. If it's Tuesday at 8 p.m., it must mean it's time for Veganish. Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Dr. Monique, your board certified family physician, known as the physician in the kitchen. And we're here to talk about all things plant-based, vegan-ish. We're gonna share some successes and some aha moments from my journey and just share a lot of good information. So be sure to tag somebody. If you know someone who needs this information, be sure to tag them. And if you're watching us on the replay, when tomorrow, just be sure to post hashtag replay.
Doug, you'll be proud of me. I channeled you this afternoon when I was having my lunch, and I was like, normally I would go get like a burger or something like that, but I said, you know what? I've been doing this show with Doug. She's got me thinking about it, and so I decided to have a Caesar salad with light dressing, and I did a piece of salmon on top of the Caesar salad, and so that was
Progress. Progress. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, we got a lot to get to this week. So, we're going to get started here in a little bit, but we want to make sure give folks time to come on in, settle down. Be sure to rep your city. Let us know where you're from. I hail from New York City, but I'm in Charlotte right now. So, my Knicks are winning. So, I'm happy. I'm good. We're up to a great start. Let me not talk about it too much. But what else is going on? So, this weekend we fall back. So we gain an extra hour, right? Just in time. We need extra hour of sleep. And then, of course, 3 weeks from Thursday, guys, is Thanksgiving. Can you believe that? It's almost here. It's
it's
almost here.
it's crazy to think about it like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to what you got planned for us for some healthy holiday eating. So I know that's down the line. I know that's not tonight's conversation, but I'm looking forward to having some conversations about some healthy holiday eating because I know our guests and our audience will probably need to hear some of these things because the holiday season is it's bad eating time.
It can be challenging, but remember, we're going to reframe things, right? One of the things we talk about on this show is reframing and our mindset, getting that together. So we're gonna do away with words like bad, and we're gonna talk about how we can turn because really, we eat, but it's also the holidays are really about spending time with loved ones and friends. So we need to just find a way to do that in a healthier way. So we'll get into that as you said.
That's
Please
like
be sure to
challenges.
that's right. Challenges. I just want to remind you guys if you are watching this, please, please, please be sure to follow me on all social media at Physician in the Kitchen. I'd love to continue the conversation offline. So if you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, and all social media at Physician in the Kitchen. So, and then Ellis, I think you've got a little bit of housekeeping to take care of before we get started.
Yes. We want to make sure that you all know that the opinions expressed on this program are the opinions of Dr. Monique and do not represent or reflect the opinions of BDO or any of Dr. Monique's employers, and is not intended to be a full-on diagnosis document what you're supposed to be doing. Like this is opinion based, right? And so we're giving you some great opinion and advice, but it's not to be considered as something that you take as gospel, as that's specific for you. What you need to be doing in your diet and in your whole kind of healthcare regime is making sure that you're working with your primary care physician with regards to any dietary changes or adjustments that you might be making.
That's right. And Ellis, they are coming in from all around the country. I'm seeing Philly. I represent Philly. I went to Temple Med School. I see Detroit. I had family there. Mississippi. We've got Phoenix. I love it. Brooklyn's in the house. I love it. I love it. So y'all come on in, gather around so we can fellowship, as my grandmother used to say.
Absolutely. So I would encourage everybody to go back and watch last week's show because it was talking about the diet and how good is your diet, and diet was an acronym. So and so shout out to, if you can tell us what diet stands for, you will get a special gift directly from Dr. Monique. I just made that proclamation.
He just put me on the spot like that. Like, really? This what we're doing now, Ellis? Well, I'll support that. I'll support that. If you guys remember, put it in the chat. So, I've got another acronym for you guys. I told you before, I'm a little bit of a food nerd, a word nerd. And so I like acronyms because they're kind of a good way for people to remember things, right? They help get me through med school. I'll tell you that. Many an acronym. But today we're going to talk about how to get boss. We hear that word so much, be a boss. It is a cost to be the boss. But it got me thinking one day. I was working out, and when I work out, I think blood flows to my brain, and I get ideas. And I was like, well, how can we rephrase that and look at that a different way? So today we're going to talk about how to get B.O.S. And that B.O.S stands for Body Optimal Sources of Sustenance. So I'm going to say that again. Body optimal sources of sustenance. So what that basically means is, how can you get the best sources of food that you can? Everyone doesn't have a Whole Foods. We know there are food deserts throughout the country, economic concerns, or food shortages in places. Things you go in the grocery store, things are just not restocked like they should be. So with all that in mind, though, how do you still get the best sources of nutrition that you can? So we're going to put up a little graphic here, and we're going to talk about for the next few minutes what this looks like on your plate. And I love this graphic that Ellis is about to share with us, because it has the food groups, but it also includes things like water and oils as well. And then the little man running there reminds you to stay active. So this table is from Harvard Medical School. And this is what we think about when we talk about the healthy eating, or how to fix your plate. And I really like this more so than the food pyramid, because I don't know about you guys, but that food pyramid, like how many servings of this and what, this is so much easier because this is real life. You don't have to worry about counting your servings per se, or your calories, if you kind of follow this really rough estimate. But this is showing you what your plate should look like. So for adults, that's going to be a 9-inch plate. And for children, 7 inches is recommended. So there's a question: body optimal source of sustenance. Yes, Sherry, that's what I said. Thank you for putting that in the chat. So when we talk about what should be on your plate, let's look at that left half. So the recommendation is to divide your plate in halves. One whole half should be comprised of vegetables and fruits. So you have things like your, of course, you have starchy vegetables, you have non-starchy vegetables. Your starchy vegetables are things like peas, corn, potatoes, even plantain, things like that are going to be your starchy or your carb vegetables. Versus non-starchy are things more like eggplant, mushrooms, cucumbers, broccoli, greens, all of those types of things. That also includes fruits. And some of the things we consider vegetables are actually fruits, things like peppers or tomatoes or even avocados, because what that means is that they have a seed on the inside, or their seeds are inside of the fruit. So, botanically speaking, they're fruits, but we tend to lump those more in the vegetable category. But still, about half of your plate should be made up of those types of foods. Then you look at the right side, we have whole grains. So that's things like your legumes, your brown rice, your corn, pasta, and even if you're going to eat bread, whole wheat pasta. If you're going to have bread, because sometimes we want bread with the meal, then just kind of factor that in and maybe eat less or fewer of the whole grains if you're going to have bread with your meal. Then you also have your healthy proteins. And you see how they phrase it as healthy protein. And I really like that, because it doesn't say, that you have to be vegan. This takes into account if you do eat meat. But this is telling you to be sure that you want to get fish and poultry. If you're going to do red meat, lean cuts of meat, and you want to have your beans, nuts, and this would include things like nut butters, because those are made from nuts. But you want to be sure to avoid things like processed meats, your bacon, sausage, lunch meats, things like that. At the top, they also have a glass of water, which I think is wonderful because it reminds us to drink. We mentioned last week that sometimes we interpret thirst as hunger, and so that can lead to sometimes overeating or snacking inappropriately. So this is just reminding us to be sure that we stay hydrated. Water, tea, coffee, I mean, those are healthy beverages for you. You want to avoid or eliminate things like sodas or things with highly processed sugars. And then also on the left, I want to go back and just mention things like healthy oils. So of course, we use oil to prepare our meals sometimes. So you want to tend to use oils or fats that are liquid at room temperature versus solid. And so you want to do, it's recommended to have more like olive oil or avocado oil, things like that. So, that's just a really kind of rough overview of how to get B.O.S S, right? How to get that body optimal sources of sustenance. And you've got a lot to choose from. It doesn't, I like this because it doesn't limit you and what you can do. It also mentions on there about making sure you get your colors right. So we talked a little bit about that last week. The more diverse colors that you see on your plate, the more just nutrients you get, and also it just makes things more exciting, right? It's visually appealing, and those colors that you see in plants are also our health benefits. They help to improve things, chronic diseases. They help to prevent chronic diseases. So they're just better for you all around. So there's some questions in the chat. Why don't we get to some of those? So some of them say, someone says, why are starchy foods frowned on? Actually, that's a great question. So it's not that we're frowning on them. I was just mentioning them in that context to let you know the different types of vegetables are thought to be broken down into two categories, starchy and non-starchy. I mean, your body needs carbs. They're a form of fuel, a source of energy. So it's the type of starch or the type of carb that you're eating is what we want to focus on. And so someone,
I'm going to add an addendum to that question, if I could,
sure.
Maureen. Is it when you eat the starchy foods is also plays a role into why they're frowned upon? And what I mean by that is you're eating complex carbs at night and then going to bed, your body is still breaking down those carbs. And so that could be, if you're not going to be using that energy once it gets broken down, the tendency is for it to convert that into long-term storage, which could be fat. Is that
So yeah, I mean, any eating right before bed is not generally thought to be good for you, really, no matter what you're eating, because it can lead to other issues like indigestion or heartburn or things like that. But yeah, like you said, when you lay down and you're not really burning those extra calories, it can lead to problems with your blood sugar. It can lead to weight gain. So, just for general all around health and good digestion, we just recommend cutting off eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. So that's really, no matter what you eat. But complex carbs are actually good for you. We tend to kind of lump carbs into one big basket, and they're really not. There's simple carbs and there's complex carbs. And so the carbs that are on the plate that I was referring to are all complex carbs,
okay?
meaning that your body has to work and to break those down, and they're not quickly converted into simple sugars that can lead to those issues. So that's a great question,
Okay.
but it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. It's what kind of carb are you eating?
Okay. So in terms of those carbs, those complex carbs, we should be more wild rice, brown rice versus the white uh, rice has been processed, things of that nature.
Exactly. So you want to get the carbs that are closer to pretty much how they came out of the ground. Rice is a grain. It's a grass. It grows, from the earth. So the more processed it is, you're losing the nutritional benefits, and they're stripping the outer coat, which is the bran and the fiber. Um, the mineral content. So when they process that, you're left with really just kind of the carbs and some protein, but you're not getting the full effect of the health benefits. So generally speaking, white means processed. And so that's why we recommend to avoid or limit those. Whereas the complex carbs, the whole grain, the brown rice, things like that are closer to their natural state and better for you nutritionally.
Okay. All
Great
right.
questions. So yeah, so that's just something to kind of for people to kind of think about. Like I said, I think that for me, it works better than that food pyramid because it's kind of easier to visualize. You're not really tied down to, measuring out this, then the other. Now, of course, if you're, like we said earlier, if you're under the care of a physician, and you're being told to, eat a certain thing or a certain amount, we're not going against that. But for
Right.
the average person, generally speaking, who may, not really want to borrow with, scales, measuring things out and things like that, this is a great way to just kind of, jumpstart and figure out how to plan their plate. So, all right. So now, it's time for one of my favorite segments. And before we go on, I just want to remind folks, if you're just joining, please be sure to tag us or tag a friend to come in and watch us. And also be sure to let us know where you're from and put your questions in the chat. And please be sure to follow me at Physician in the Kitchen on all social media. So, Ellis, it's that time. What time is it?
It's time for vegan or nah.
This, this is like my favorite segment. I don't know about you guys, but I really like it when I'm preparing for it. I'm like, oh, I like this sharing information like this. So we've got 3 things for you this week. So if you missed it last week, you got to go back and watch it because we talked about Worcestershire sauce and
Right.
we did what did we do? Oh, mayonnaise. We had talked about mayonnaise. So we had
Mayonnaise
some
and
good
yellow
stuff on
mustard.
here last week.
You did yellow mustard too.
And we did mustard. That's right.
Yeah.
So if you missed it, you got to go back and watch it. So this week I've got three for you. So I think we're gonna have fun with this. So the first one is just plain or refined sugar. So I don't have a demo, but we all know what sugar looks like. This is table sugar, white sugar that you buy. 5-pound bag, 3 to 5 pound bag. Is sugar vegan or not? We need a Jeopardy music, or we need to come up with some kind of music while people.
We do. Yeah. Oh,
You
I'm
don't
kind
think about it, right? You don't think
of.
about sugar, like the sugar, but is sugar vegan or not?
I
I
am
mean,
stumped on that one. So y'all help me out like on this one because I all right. So
okay.
MDM says vegan.
So we got one vote for vegan.
Okay. I,
They're coming in.
Monique,
They're coming in vegan. Vegan is getting the
I got a mostly not.
and that's my cousin. Hey, cuz.
Oh,
That's my
you
little
try to
cousin.
split the difference. Mostly not. What's
That's
that mean?
right. But she's kind of a ringer, so we'll circle back to that. But yeah, she may be onto something. So we've got another not vegan. Okay. All right. So what do you think, Alice? Should I tell him is it vegan or not?
I Yes. In the suspense.
It depends.
Oh,
But refined sugar. Let me clarify. Refined sugar can come from 2 sources, either beets or sugar cane. So if it comes from sugar cane, then it's not vegan because of the way that it is processed. So beet sugar is always vegan. But
okay.
if it is the white refined sugar, because the basically it's a whole process, but that they process it and then they bleach it with bone char. Like, how do they come up with this stuff? But the bone char is used to bleach it and make it white. So it's
Oh,
not in the sugar, but the bone char is used to process it. So people who are vegan, again, don't want anything that has any animal products or byproducts. So they would tend to not eat regular sugar.
wow. Okay, I
So
did not. Well, I did not know, and I don't understand why it has to be white, but that's a whole other subject.
so right, so your less processed sugars, this does not apply to. This is specifically for white sugar. Okay, that table sugar that we all kind of know about. All right,
So shout out to the folks that recognize it was
that's right. Once you got that right. So what is this, guys? We know what this is. Wine. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
exactly.
So is wine vegan or not? I know y'all are like, what is she talking about? It's made from grapes. Of course it's vegan. So what does the audience say? What do you guys think?
Okay, so we got to see, is wine vegan or not? My vote is yes. I mean, but it could be some processing thing. But I'm going to say yes.
Okay, you think it's vegan? Okay. Okay. We've got kind of split. We got being just about as many yeses as nos. Some are.
Can y'all
That's
hear
my
that?
my family is showing me so much love tonight. Thank you, Aunt Patricia. So she said that some are. Okay.
Can you hear that?
I I hope there's no copyright infringement. I hope we all,
I stopped. I don't want to be dinged on YouTube. YouTube, quick, put
it'll
something
be
in.
it'll be muted, right? All right. So actually, most folks are I think we've got a little skewed towards vegan, and some are. So, Auntie, you are absolutely right. It really depends. It depends. And
Okay.
again, Ellis, you were right. It's got to do with the processing. So
Okay.
most of the wine, and I actually learned this in culinary school, which was like, what? Vegan? Wine is not vegan. But even though it's made from grapes, which of course is a fruit,
Right.
it is processed. Depending on the way it's processed, they may use animal products such as um, casein, which is a milk product. They may actually use albumin, which are egg whites, another protein, gelatin, another protein, and also something that's called isinglass, which is a fish bladder protein.
Mm.
Again, how they come up with this stuff, I don't know, but it's used to clarify or kind of refine the wines. So you want to be sure if you're looking for a vegan wine, those are going to be made or filtered with clay or charcoal, and they'll
Okay.
say unfiltered is what you want to look for to get vegan wine. But most of the wines in your on the shelves in the grocery store are actually not vegan.
Okay. Mine. I, I, I don't know if my mind's getting blown or if I'm getting disappointed.
I mean, it still has health benefits for you, right? We know red wine is good for you, bumps up your good cholesterol and all that. But yeah, if you're looking for strictly whether it's vegan or not, it really depends. So good job, guys. All right. So the last one we've got is steak sauce. Can everybody see that? So is
Yeah.
steak sauce vegan or not? Like this is like, I know y'all think I've been drinking this wine, right? But I promise you I haven't. But is steak sauce, which of course can be used on other things other than steak, right? You can put it on poultry and pork and even, vegetables like mushrooms and things like that. But is the steak sauce itself vegan or not?
All right. So we're split on this. So we got a vegan. We got not. I got a so not vegan. So
So they meant that, right?
yeah, okay, they gonna put that foot down on that one. I will
That's
say
my mother.
my vote is no with a question mark. No,
I know at this point you don't know what to think, right?
right. So
I admit I'm not really playing fair tonight. I'm sorry, guys. So, but it looks like most folks are saying nah. So we get a couple more votes. Well, you guys are good though. I mean, we got some smart folks watching. So, well, this is another one of those. It's vegan-ish, okay?
no,
So,
see,
so steak
no.
sauce is like the name of the show, vegan-ish. And I just want to read this label to you guys because I found this so interesting. Because it starts off sounding kind of good. So it's tomato puree, which of course I'm all for tomatoes. And then distilled vinegar, which of course is great. And then the third ingredient is actually high fructose corn syrup. So while that doesn't make it not vegan, we've talked about how fructose, that high fructose corn syrup raises
Right.
inflammation in the body, generally a no-no, stay away from it. So that's what's in there. And then you go on down the list and it's got um, caramel color, so a dye, artificial, and something called natural flavors. So when you first look at this, you're like, well, this looks vegan. I don't see anything in here that's not. But the reason it's vegan-ish is because natural colors. I'm going to read to you the definition from the FDA because I had to look this up. So natural colors, or excuse me, natural flavors are defined by the FDA as a substance that is extracted, distilled, or otherwise removed from natural sources such as plants or animals.
Okay.
So it depends on where it comes from. And if it doesn't tell you, you don't know. So steak sauce can be vegan-ish, depending on where those natural natural flavors come from.
Right. Right.
So isn't that
That's
crazy? I
kind of
was like,
vague.
wow,
It's
that's
a really vague definition of natural flavors, and they're calling it natural, but they're so vague. You're like derived from plants or animals. Like that's a big gap.
exactly. That's pure advertising right there. They're tapping into you, oh, natural, but then you're like, but wait, what does that really mean? So, and then it's got other stuff in there like xanthan gum, which is a thickener and a binder, which is actually, we use that if you're gluten free and you want to use that to make bread. But it's also found in things like wallpaper and toothpaste. I mean, xanthan gum is kind of a jack of all
Mm.
trades. So I just thought that was really interesting. So we've got
I don't want to hear no more.
okay. Hey, Ella, sharing is caring. I'm sharing this information because I care about you guys, right? So would you rather not know? He's like,
I
yes.
would know. And I've seen that xanthan gum before, and I knew it was a thickener, but I didn't realize they were using it in other
It's
products that I wouldn't
it's
consider
everywhere.
xanthan.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so we're actually coming up on our time, but real quick, we also wanted to nutrition in the news, and with this being days and weeks away from Thanksgiving, we're going to be eating a lot of sweet potatoes, I'm sure, in the next few weeks. So there's always this debate, which is better for you, sweet potatoes or white potatoes. Long story short, they both are good for you. We talked earlier about white rice and white bread, and white potatoes tend to get lumped into that, but they're not processed. This is how they're made. Now you can make them unhealthy by eating them like potato chips and French fries, and putting cheese and bacon bits and all that on there. But bite for bite, they both are good for you. Sweet potato probably gets the edge because of the beta carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, and that's good for your eyes and your immune system and your skin. But white potatoes actually have a little bit more potassium than orange or sweet potatoes, but they both are very low fat, no cholesterol. They're great sources of carbs, proteins, all around good for you, vitamins, and minerals. So white potatoes tend to get a bad rap, but I think it's really, how we make them or how we eat them. Because if you think about it, sweet potatoes, if by the time you put those in a casserole and you add sugar and marshmallows and all the other stuff, they're not good for you anymore either. So
Yeah, you put this, but the crazy thing is my son loves sweet potatoes. Like that,
oh,
that's
that's
his thing.
great.
Like ever since, so like even when we bake potatoes, like I have to get like regular baking potatoes for us, and then I get a baked sweet potato for him because he doesn't like to eat the regular baked potato. And then
My boy.
like he puts honey and cinnamon.
Okay.
That's the thing on the sweet potato. So like he really tries to keep it natural. So that's one thing that I give him credit for, eating as close to natural as it should.
Hey, that's wonderful. Good for him. And hopefully he'll expound and grow with that. But that's great. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because white potatoes get such a bad rap.
It does.
But again, if you do bad things to a sweet potato, they're not going to be as healthy for you either. So keep
Well,
that in
it's the
mind.
butter, cheese, chives, and sour cream and all that stuff that we pile on the bacon
Right.
that give it the bad rap. It's not the potato that did it.
Exactly.
Which,
Exactly. Because the just because the potato was white, it's made that way. It's not
yeah.
processed white. So that's the difference. Gotta kind of keep that separated. But
Okay. To eat the skin or not to eat the skin?
the skin is my son loves the skin. You talked about your son. My son loves the skin. You scrub them and they're clean. Actually, because the studies that I was just referring to, or the nutritional information, actually did include the skin. So yeah, there's nothing wrong. That's fiber. That's better for your digestive tract. If it's clean and I like mine baked. If I'm going to eat it, it's of course it's like a baked potato.
Right.
But yeah, no, you don't have to peel it. You still to get the benefit.
Okay. And Marcy, we do know that honey is not vegan.
Exactly. I think that was the first show.
That was the first show. We know it's not vegan, but my son's not vegan either. So I said that's the closest thing he's going to get to is that sweet potato with cinnamon and honey. That's about the closest thing he's going to get to being a vegan. But
Well, we all this. Actually, that's the perfect lead in because we're going to wrap up. But what we're going to be talking about next week is I'm going to give you guys 3 easy tips to start your plant based diet or plant
okay,
based journey. Okay, because people wonder, well, what do I need to do? Do I go clean out everything in the refrigerator? No, no, no. You start where you are, and we're going to talk about how to make it easy, approachable, and not overwhelming. So tune in next week. And I've
all
got to
right.
give a shout out. I don't know if you guys can see this. I am wearing my lab coat from my girl, Dr. Lindy. She does designer lab coats for physicians, and she's got my brand color. So I told her I'd give her a shout out. So thank you for your support and your just this bomb jacket.
The doctor's doing the thing, and
She is.
I love the
She
fact that
sure
it's orange and
is.
green because I'm a FAMU rattler, so the orange and green does
And
my heart
I
so
told her
good.
that. I said, FAMU was going to cut up when they see this jacket. I
Yeah,
told you that.
yeah. We just had the epic return at homecoming, so we just we did it. So shout out to them. Shout out to my girl Jill. Thank you for joining us. Jill and I went to high school together, so that's
Oh, welcome.
long time ago. But shout out, thank you for joining us. And we'll be here every week, 8 p.m. Looking for those 3 tips. Think about this, like next week, 3 tips to start your plant-based journey. So we don't have to, like you said, you don't have to empty out your pantry, your refrigerator, but we're gonna slowly change it and get you better, get you on that plant-based journey and get you veganish or flexitarian or whatever you want to call it. That's where we are. So I'm looking forward to next week because I am slowly starting this plant-based journey, which is it's it's it's
It's
a
a
challenge.
journey. It's
It's
a
a
journey. It's a
challenge.
journey. It's a journey. You know how do you know the saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So thank you, Alice, so much for that, and we will see you all next time.
Bye, guys.